My name's Nate Boley, and 20 years ago, strength training changed the course of my life. I built a gym here in Bend, Oregon from scratch that's helped over 1,500 people change their lives as well through strength training. If you want to change your life, head over to benstrengthwarehouse.com, hit the Start My Journey button, and let's chat. All right, guys, we'll see you there. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have an awesome episode. Actually, I just realized this is our 100th episode. And today we have one of our members, Cress, on. And he's just been having this amazing fitness journey. And so I'm just going to turn it over to him and introduce him. So hey, Dana, how are you today? And welcome to the podcast.
I'm good. I'm Dana. So
Yeah. Okay. Give us a little bit of background about who you are.
I've been a chef for the last 20 plus years. That has taken me all over the country, from the Rocky Mountains to Alaska to New York and back to Oregon, where I'm from.
Right on. So were you born and raised in Oregon?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Oregon boy. So same here. Portland or Bend?
Grew up over on the Oregon coast, and then middle school moved over to Eugene. Was there for about 6-7 years. Spent a year over here in Bend, and then finished out my high school years in North Bend, Oregon.
Okay, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And now you're over in the blue skies of Central Oregon.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
And so were you a chef ever since getting out of high school or college? Did you go to culinary?
So I looked at going to culinary school right after high school.
Yeah.
And then I decided I'm not exactly sure if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Sure.
Put that on hold, tried a bunch of different industries. It was never satisfying. I was like, yeah, this is not what I want. Wasn't fulfilling. Was constantly watching the clock. Oh my God, when am I going to be out of here, you know?
Yeah.
And then in 96, I found a summer job working at one of the lodges in Yellowstone.
Okay.
It opened my eyes up to the hospitality industry, and, you know, living inside of one of the most beautiful places in North America, I started to realize who I was. Not only did I enjoy playing with food, but I enjoyed exploring the outdoors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you can't get any better than Yellowstone.
Nope.
You're working for the resort and just doing, oh man, you probably got all sorts of perks doing that stuff. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, Congrats, man. And now you're back in Central Oregon, and you're cooking here and loving it.
Yep, cool. Absolutely.
Nice, right on. Well, we'll get into some of the strength journey here. You've been with us for a little over a year now, or just coming up on a year?
9 months.
9 months, okay.
Yeah.
How'd you find us?
So, a friend of mine who I actually worked with when I was the executive chef in Portland at Salty's on the Columbia, Braden, he saw that he had joined you guys. He had some accidents and whatnot, and you guys were able to essentially help him rebuild himself. And, you know, turning around and hearing him say that he's in the best shape that he can actually remember, I was like, well, that's interesting. And I just kind of kept tabs on him. But over the last 7-8 years myself, Father Time's catching up, and I've started sustaining injuries I've never had before. I used to work out when I was younger. Once you get out of high school, you stop, but sure. I was still active. Seeing what was going on in my life, I was like, okay, I need to make some changes. Yeah. You know, I've tried gyms on my own, but it's like, you need some motivation, and at the same time, just like with cooking, you've got a base foundation of certain things, but techniques, equipment, that's always evolving. Yeah. You know, so I was like, I need someone to guide and mentor me into doing it, and that's why I'm here.
Cool. Well, I think you found the right place. I'm a little biased, but hey, excuse me. And we love Braden. You know, it's funny. I worked with Braden for several years in the automotive industry, and he always gave me
all the different excuses why he couldn't do it. I did this. And then I finally actually, I think it was after I had left. He had left Subaru and I had left Subaru to come run the gym here. And he finally messaged me. He's like, hey, I think we need to go out for lunch. And I was like, cool. And I finally he'd seen some things that is happening in his life, and he's like, I need to do it. And he's done it now, and he's been a great member, and he's gone so far. It's awesome. So you said before joining with us, you said you're involved in fitness activities. What kind of stuff? You said you went to the gym. Like, was it just kind of like go in, do your own thing, gym, 24-hour fitness or whatever?
Yeah. Back in the day when Bally Total Fitness was around, tried joining that. It was difficult to get myself motivated to go in there on my own. Same thing with, joining Planet Fitness. They can work, but if you don't get your butt in there, it's not doing anything. And again, I haven't been doing this in a long time, and it's like I remember what I was taught when I was younger, but you can always have your techniques and form improved.
Absolutely.
When you've got a coach watching over you, that's where they can turn around and be like, no, too much here, not enough there.
Yep.
So coming here has helped not only refine and remind my muscle memory, so to speak, proper lifting techniques, but y'all have helped me get back into a routine that has been very dormant.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I think, just going back to I don't want to dog on Planet Fitness or any 24-hour gyms, but their business model is different than ours. Their business model is how many people can we sign up and hopefully they don't come. And our business model is the exact opposite. How many people can we help change their lives?
Yep.
Right. And that's really the passion, the mission behind what we're doing. Now, I know Planet Fitness has changed people's lives. I guarantee they have. People have gone in there and they've done some stuff, but their business model is not to sustainably guide people to a better life.
No, it's definitely different than what you have here.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So can you just go ahead and describe just a little bit about what your experience has been like with Strength Warehouse here?
It's been great. One of the first things that jumped out at me when I came here is you have all walks of life coming in here and exercising. From young people to older people, people who have worked out before, people who have never worked out before. And it's like, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
There's nothing, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no stigma or stereotype of thinking that you're coming into a place that you've got a bunch of giant people critiquing you. No, everyone here is welcome, and all the members who are here are very supportive of each other 100%. And friendly, and just like all the coaches, everyone's here to help and inspire one another, and that's one of the great things that helps you get into a routine of making sure you show up each and every day,
right,
regardless of being tired. It's like, get off your butt, wake up, go in there, and within 10 minutes, you're like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I think that you're definitely just nail right on the, or head right on, nail on the head. Everybody's really supportive, and they just want to see everybody do better, right? Yep. It doesn't matter if you're, injured, never lifted before, or a world champion athlete. Everybody's just here to make sure everybody else is doing good.
That's right.
I think that's very, again, that's something that Megan and I have tried to cultivate for the last decade, and I think that it shows up very well. So I appreciate it when somebody else, tells me that that's what they're seeing.
Yep.
Along the way, you have faced some adversities. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know there was a little bit of stuff that at one point you were feeling like you had to back away, and we put a little birdie on your shoulder Go ahead. I'll just let you go ahead and talk about it.
A lot of that has to do with my career and my work-life balance.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I got in here too, is like, you know, I need to start having more of a work-life balance. I need to start working on my own personal growth. If I don't focus on myself, making myself better, how do I expect to properly develop and guide my team to take care of my guests? You know, being an executive chef, I've been working 12 to 16 hours a day, you know, anywhere from 60 to 85 hours a week for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I love doing what I do. And most people, they hear that, they're like, that's insane. You know, I'm a firm believer, if you love doing what you do, you don't watch the clock to see when is this day over.
Yeah.
You watch the clock to know where you're at with your projects for the day.
Sure.
Making sure that you're on track. Spending too much time at work and not really enough time elsewhere, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can fit this in.
Yeah.
You know, and just when you start to personally reflect on yourself, it's like, no, like, this is part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing is going to be perfect. Not every day is going to be smooth, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Life
That's
is
life.
full of adversities, and my industry is riddled with different adversity each and every day, but
Yeah.
it's not boring.
No,
You
definitely
always
not boring.
find a new way to rise above that, and at the same time, when you rise above the adversity, you in turn teach your team around you
Yep.
how to handle it. They become inspired, and again, that's part of the extra motivation that gets me doing what I do.
Yeah.
You know, again, I got a ways to go. I still need to continue to focus on getting better work-life balance. My daughter works for me now.
That's cool.
She sees me more now because she works for me than she has in probably the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Well, that's cool, though. You guys get to spend some more time together, and, you know, if she's into the work or into the, you know, the food industry as well, that's awesome.
it's pretty weird. Like, you know, her and I have done things in the kitchen together as she's grown up, but to see how natural the kitchen is to her, it's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
It really is.
Are you proud of it, though?
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah, absolutely should be. I like
But
it.
again, it's also very shocking.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that would just come natural to someone, but it does.
But maybe she's been watching you. So she's kind of like got that perspective. Yeah, that's crazy. I like that. All right. But, you know, so as you were getting ready to step back, I had made some phone calls to you. Mm-hmm. And I know you were really appreciative of that. And so that's part of the, like, kind of the coaching process, right? Like, hey,
Absolutely.
I know that these things are coming about in your life, and we're here to help you in every aspect, when you're winning, when you're losing, and anywhere in between. Coming into that, I really appreciate it, because I've had other members and other people that have left that did not take so kindly to me calling them out sometimes on some things that they may need to reflect on. But we were really glad that, you know, you took that to heart, and you're still staying here with us today.
No, and that's, you know, again, a lot of people have issues when someone calls them out, and it's like, time out.
Yeah.
We're not trying to shame you.
No.
Like, we're just having a conversation here. And at the same time, when you're having that conversation, whether it's y'all in this situation dealing with me or me dealing with my team, it's like, hey, let's talk through this. You know, there's always a solution to this. You know, and not only did it make me think and be like, no, I need to stick to my guns and I need to get this into a routine, but again, it was another reflection on what you guys do here.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's a
yeah,
very positive thing.
like I said, like we talked about, you know, kind of before, like you can make any situation worse or better, right? You can worse or better. When that happens, and say everybody wants, you know, accountability until they receive accountability, and then they're like, oh, hold on a second, like, you're calling me out here. I'm the same way. I've got a mentor and a coach, and they're like, hey, what the heck are you doing, you know? Not necessarily slap you on the wrist, but just kind of course correction, right? You're slipping over here. We see it. We're here to help you. We're here to support you. You told us you want these things. Now, do you really want those things?
Yeah.
You got to reflect a little bit. But no, I appreciate that perspective on it for sure. I know you've had some pretty impressive results in your last body scan. Do you want to go through some of those?
So what was it? A couple of weeks ago, I had another body scan.
Yeah.
I think that was at roughly my 9-month mark. It had definitely shown. I've kind of made some new strides. I've had a couple of body scans.
Yeah.
Megan has pointed out a couple of things to me that I could work on, focusing on, altering your eating habits, making sure that, after your workout days, she pointed out, she was like, yeah, you are not eating enough protein.
Sure.
Like, you need more nutrients in you.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to that, started focusing on that, having good snacks all around me, whether it's nuts, jerky, things that have good protein. My body doesn't really do well with sugar. So trying to avoid that stuff. If I'm doing anything that's sweet, look at using honey instead.
100%.
There's a lot of benefits to that. And not only that, when I started here, I want to say I had a pretty good work ethic, but there was one day I just thought, and I was like, you know what? Do you have the same work ethic and drive here as you do in your kitchen? My work ethic and drive in a kitchen's pretty unreal.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what happens when I start doing that.
That's great.
So I've started putting that kind of focus, attitude, and effort into what I'm doing here.
I love that.
It's paid off.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was your last body scan? I know you did some pretty impressive muscle gain.
So from start to now in the 9 months, I've lost 10 pounds of body fat and gained 6 pounds of muscle.
Dude, that is amazing. That's awesome.
That's
so good. And how do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah.
Some people might think this is weird, but I know how I am. Your body starts to get used to certain things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just like once you start working out consistently, it's almost like a withdrawal syndrome. If something happens and you aren't able to work out, your body isn't necessarily happy with you, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
Right? No, I feel you.
So again, that's another extra motivation to make sure you're exercising each and every day. Not only that, but one of the big reasons why I came here, I've got, injuries to my left shoulder. I had an injury to my right bicep. I've got a degenerative disc in my lower back with a bone spur growing into some nerves.
That's always fun.
And right now I only come here 2 days a week because how much I'm working. But one of the days that I'm almost always here is Mondays, which we do squats.
Yep.
My squats have soared as far as what I can do with that.
Okay.
But not only that, so before, when my back was acting up and my left leg just would not want to work, the pain threshold would be a 9-10.
Ooh, that's not good.
Now, if it acts up, it's like a 3.
Okay.
Unless you turn around and slip on ice, it happened 2 weeks ago. And I had a jackhammer motion. It set my pain level to a 6-7.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't great, but it is because, before I started here, Yeah, if I would have done that, it would have put me out for like a week and a half.
Yeah, I think that's an added benefit that people don't necessarily realize as they're getting stronger. If an injury occurs, it's less detrimental and you recover much quicker.
Yep, absolutely. So, again, it's another personal reinforcement to, hey, you need to make sure you stay the course with what you're doing.
All right, so I want to touch on something. You brought your friend Eric in, and he told me something that was outstanding. He said that you told him that your day-to-day life had just gotten so much better, and you felt way more happy. Can you go on? Can you talk about that a little bit?
A lot of that just, again, if you're feeling better physically, physical and mental well-being go hand in hand. A lot of times we don't think about that, but it does.
We're kinetic chain. Everything's tied together.
It is. It really is. And at the same time, doing what I do here, I handle adversity pretty well. Now I handle it even better.
Yeah.
You're able to process things, and again, the more cool, calm, collected you are in the heat of battle, it translates to everyone around you. They see how you handle things and how you're articulating yourself. It helps bring them down when they start to get a little frantic.
Right. And you as a leader of your team, if you start getting frantic, guess what your team's doing?
Yep.
They're freaking out too.
Correct.
Because you're the guy who's supposed to be like, hey, we're all good. We're leading this. We're leading this team. So yeah, having being able to push through that in a much calmer manner, they're going to see that, and they're only going to rise to where you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's something that's kind of highly overlooked from doing something like this, right? Correct. And it's not just general fitness. It's more, it's definitely more of a strength training, pushing yourself, pushing the limits and stuff like that. And there's something to be said about that. When you're under a heavy squat, bench, or deadlift, and you're like, I'm having a hard time, right? I'm going to push through this a little bit. That spills out into everyday life. Yeah, highly. Just like I was talking about this last weekend, I was stuck in, Atlanta, Georgia, and I was watching people flip their lids and getting arrested and crying on the ground and kicking and screaming, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to say my patience were very thin, but I kept it together for almost 9 hours, and I was like, by the end of the day, I was talking to my wife, I'm like, I don't know if I can handle one more thing.
Right.
I was like, one more thing happens, I'm gonna flip my lid, but of course nothing happened, and I'm sure that at that point I would have been like, hey, let's reevaluate. But again, it allows you to just push each limit in every aspect of your life just a little bit more.
It sure does.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. What's your future goals, plans for your fitness?
Improving 1% each day.
Okay.
I really want to see what I can accomplish in 2025. I've made great accomplishments in the first 9 months being here. I want to see how much more I can push that. Talking to Braden and knowing how much he has changed in the 2.5, 3 years he's been coming here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, again, there's a little extra motivation to stick with it. But where I take it another level is on a personal level, the changes that I am having, how can I get that to translate over and influence my daughter and wife?
Yeah. That's huge. Are they seeing changes with you?
They are. My daughter's a little reserved with how she brings certain things up.
Sure.
She's a moody 17-year-old at times. But I've figured out how to get into her head. Like, we all know, especially if you got kids, like, the last thing that you want to do is try and force your will onto them.
They're not going to take it.
They will stand their ground. I've been telling her, you need to listen to authority, but you need to stand your ground. You need to speak your mind.
Yeah.
By God, she does that.
She took that one to heart.
She does. And she is not a pushover. But, I've learned, like, if you make subtle suggestions as to what can be done, she opens up to it.
Yeah.
During my last body scan, I talked to Megan a little bit, and, it's going to take me a minute, but trying to get my daughter in here to get some personal training with Megan or Sage.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm pretty confident those two could help my daughter tremendously, and especially if it's a one-on-one thing.
Sure.
It's going to make my daughter a little more open to doing it.
Right. I used to coach my wife, and there's no way it didn't work. I was like, you need to go get your own coach, because if you tell, like, I have a 14-year-old daughter, right? If I tell her, hey, you need to do this, she's going to be like, no, I don't. But if a coach tells her that she needs to do the exact same thing I told her to do, she's like, okay, let's do it. Why? I don't know why, but that's just the way life works, right? Especially with your kids. And I think it's the same thing with me. My wife told me this, I need you to do this. Get out of here. I can take care of myself. My coach tells me the exact same thing. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So yeah. I think it'll be I think it'll be really good for her, especially with, Sage they're closer in age. And so they could probably have some stuff to talk about and some stuff that they're going to be on the same level with. So yeah. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Okay. Initially, when you came in and saw me, and we did our NSI, you were a little bit hesitant, took off for a while, and did your due diligence and stuff like that. What was what led you to coming back?
Again, it just goes to work-life balance, turning around, and you got to mentally and physically get yourself prepared for certain things. Being deeply entrenched into what I do,
to crawl your way out of it.
It took me a minute to figure out how to manipulate my schedule enough to get the journey started, if that makes sense.
No, I get you. Especially because your salary, I'm guessing, so you can just work 25 hours a day if you wanted to.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, cool. Now I need to work like 20 hours a day, not 25 hours a day. Now I need to work 18 hours a day, not 25 hours a day. Yeah, I get you for sure.
Yep. And
I'm in the same boat. I own a business. I could work all day long. It may not be in the gym, but I'm constantly. And my wife's like, hey, you need to put that thing down for a little while. Engage your family, Oh, but there's always something to be done, right?
Yep.
There's always something that needs to be done. But the fires will always be there when you get back, which is something that I've had to learn the hard way multiple times. The fires are always going to be there. The work's always going to be there. If you don't take care of yourself, 20 years is going to go by, and you didn't do anything.
Yep. And
now it's harder to get back in there. You've lost a lot of time. Health is compounding, just like like your investments for your retirement. Health is the same way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly time goes by, and I think humans by nature are very susceptible to procrastination.
You're very right.
Whether it's justified or unjustified, something comes up, it takes your distractions, it takes you to here, there, everywhere else, and next thing you know, you're like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that like 5 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
So again, trying to narrow what you're looking at and what you're trying to do. And again, we all work hard, we take a lot of pride in what we do, but trying to break yourself of a 20-year habit of working the way you do, it's not easy. It is not easy at all.
One thing we talked about in this, I went to a seminar for gym owners. A lot of people, they wrap their identity in what they do, right? So I'm a gym owner, you're a chef. And so that, when you take back from that, it can be painful. Right? Because like, this is what I do. This is Dana. This is Dana's world. This is Nate's world. I'm a gym owner. I'm a power lifter. Well, once I'm not a gym owner anymore, which I don't know if that'll ever be, but we'll see. Once I'm not a power lifter anymore, which probably eventually will happen, you have to figure out a way to have another identity, right? So if you can be fluid with who you are, it's much easier to dig yourself out of something like that. You've put yourself into that position.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. It is not easy, especially if you're passionate about what you do.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It's not easy breaking.
Well, you're doing
habits.
You're doing it. You're
Slowly
coming through.
but surely.
Breaking through the chains, making yourself, a better person 1% at a time.
Yep.
Really appreciate that. One last question for you, because we're running out of time here. But if you were just chatting with somebody and they were kind of like on the fence, what would you tell them? What would you tell Eric? Because I know he was in the same position.
He still is.
He's a busy dude.
Eric's very busy. Trying to get him just to, hey, you say you want to do 3 days a week, shrink it, make it to where it's obtainable. If 3 days is difficult to do, right now, focus on just 2 days a week.
Yep.
And
2 hours in the whole week.
Manipulate your schedule just enough to get a routine established. And honestly, you'll start to get a good routine after 30 days. But really, that 90-day mark is really where you start to see the pendulum swing in that other direction. I still have another gym membership, and it was right around that 9-10 week mark, I got to a point to where I was getting enough of a routine here where it's like, you know what, my schedule is kind of prohibiting me right now of doing 1, 2, or even 3 more days here at the warehouse. But you know what? I can use the app and I can go to the other gym.
Yep.
And I can look at, okay, what are they doing there today?
Yep.
I turn around and I look at that, and I make myself go ahead and do that there.
That's great. I didn't realize you're doing that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that. That is why we allow you guys to have that, because we're like, hey, we get it. Sometimes you're gone. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's all good. Just do the workout. That's all we want you to
Absolutely.
do. Right?
I would say right now, consistently, I'm working out 4 days a week.
Cool.
There's a lot of times that some of the body weight exercises that we do here.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things at home, so I can practice certain things at home as well when I'm waking up in the morning.
I love that.
So it's just getting into those habits and utilizing the resources and tools around you to get a consistency to happen. But those first 90 days are probably the most critical.
Yeah, I totally. It's funny you say that, because just sitting on the wall up here is our 90-day journey that we have created, and it's intentional for that reason, because it takes about 90 days to really establish. And there's some pitfalls after 90 days and stuff like that we've adjusted for in our journey as well. But that 90 days is so crucial. If we can get somebody past 90 days, it's way more likely that they're going to start changing their lives.
Well, one of the other great things that I do enjoy about what y'all have got going on here, you're consistent with what you're focusing on as far as workouts go each and every day.
Yeah.
But the exercises are constantly changing, which is great. That allows those endorphins inside of you to come out and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Here's something new I get to learn. And at the same time, the more, from what I've learned, the more that we're throwing something different at our bodies and mind, our body is forced to get off a plateau, and it's like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
I gotta adapt.
Yep, exactly.
Change to fit this, and I think that's a great model with what you guys have going on. Not only does it help us to continue to have more growth and gains, but mentally it keeps you excited. Okay, what are we going to do new and different today?
Yeah, they call it novelty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the shiny object syndrome thing, right? Like, ooh, something cool, something new, shiny.
Yep.
But at the same time, the core basics of it are really the same.
Yep.
But there's just some little new things in there. So you're still staying consistent on the same thing, but you get a little bit of that, just exactly what you said. You get a little bit of that excitement, like, oh, what are we going to learn? What is it? The body's going to adapt in a new way. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's really the cornerstone of a great fitness routine. I think, yeah, I got to be consistent on some things, change up the variations, add in some new stuff every now and again, and just be dedicated to keep on going.
That's right.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, hey, I know you got to get to work. Super appreciate you being on the podcast today. I'd love to have you back on, and maybe next year, and to see what the heck's going on with you, and maybe we can have some other awesome numbers that we've had. But yeah, man. Hey, Dana, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, dude.
No, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime. If you got something new you want to talk about, hit me up. I'm always looking for people to be on the podcast, so we'd love to have you back on.
Terrific.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I'm going to let you go. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. And just remember this one thing, you're capable of way more than you ever thought. And just get out there and take some action today, all right? All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us on the Go Heavy or Go Home podcast today. We hope you got a lot of value and had a ton of fun. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about what we do, or just have a ton of resources at your fingertips, head over to benstrengthwarehouse.com and hit the Start My Journey button. All right, guys, until next time, go heavy or go home.